Imagine standing at the peak of hip-hop royalty, a global icon whose influence touches music, fashion, and culture, only to watch that world unravel in a cascade of accusations, lawsuits, and unanswered questions. What happens when a titan falls under the weight of his own legacy? And what does truth look like when millions watch, judge, and debate in real time? Tonight, we unpack one of the most controversial stories in entertainment, the rise and fall of Sean Diddy Combs. The explosive Netflix documentary Sean Combs, The Reckoning, and the powerful ripple effects that continue to shock fans around the world. Power, influence, and an empire. Sean Combs, known to the world as Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, and eventually just Diddy, was not just a musician. From the early 1990s, he became a defining architect of hip-hop's commercial ascendancy. He founded Bad Boy Records, ushered in artists like the notorious B.I.G., and expanded into fashion with Sean John and lifestyle branding that made him a billionaire mogul. For decades, his name was synonymous with success, swagger, and cultural dominance. Yet behind the hits and the headlines, a growing number of voices claimed a different story, one of alleged abuse, exploitation, and entrenched power protected by fame and fear. The allegations unveiled, the seismic shift began with a flood of legal complaints and civil suits that painted a picture far removed from the public persona. In 2023 and 2024, multiple women came forward accusing Combs of sexual assault, physical abuse, and coercive behavior, many dating back decades. Among the most prominent accusers was singer Cassandra Chessie Ventura, who alleged years of physical and sexual abuse, allegations that eventually led to a high-profile lawsuit against him. Civil cases also alleged drug-facilitated sexual assault, harassment, and even distribution of intimate materials without consent. It wasn't just isolated claims. Attorneys announced that more than 70 civil complaints had been filed against Combs by late 2025, with accusations spanning decades and involving men and women alike. Some lawsuits even claimed assault as far back as the early 1990s, alleging serious misconduct and challenging decades of triumph with unsettling allegations. From allegations to arrest, the criminal case. By 2024, the severity of the accusations drew the attention of federal authorities. On March 25, 2024, Homeland Security agents raided properties linked to Combs in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami, seizing digital devices and conducting a sweeping investigation into alleged illegal activity tied to his enterprise. In September 2024, a grand jury indicted Combs on a spectrum of federal charges, including sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation for prostitution, accusations that carried the potential for decades behind bars. Combs pled not guilty, and what followed was an intense legal reckoning that culminated in a trial in 2025. In that trial, jurors delivered what many observers saw as a mixed verdict. Combs was acquitted of the more severe racketeering and sex trafficking charges, but convicted on 2 counts related to transportation for prostitution. He was sentenced to 50 months in federal prison and fined $500,000. Enter the documentary, Sean Combs: The Reckoning. Amid and following these legal battles, Netflix released Sean Combs: The Reckoning on December 2, 2025, a 4-part documentary executive produced by Curtis, 50 Cent, Jackson and directed by Alexandria Stapleton. The series didn't just retell headlines, it dug deeply into the intricate web of allegations, featuring interviews with accusers, former associates, jurors, journalists, and insiders who painted a harrowing picture of Combs' inner world. Viewers saw never-before-seen footage of Combs in the days leading up to his arrest, confronting legal pressure, and desperately attempting to control the narrative. The documentary also explored long-standing murky moments in hip-hop history, tracing how rivalries and tragedies, including the deaths of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G., intersected with power, industry politics, and cultural conflict. Critics noted how the film raised uncomfortable questions about influence, silence, and accountability in an industry fiercely protective of its icons. Reactions, supporters, critics, and the mogul himself The response to The Reckoning was immediate and intense. Audiences worldwide debated the ethics of a film executive produced by one of Combs' most outspoken rivals. Combs' legal team blasted the documentary as defamatory, asserting that certain footage was obtained illegally and that the film was motivated by personal animosity rather than journalistic integrity. Netflix, for its part, maintained that all materials were legally sourced. Beyond legal teams, reactions split sharply across social media and news discourse. Some praised the docuseries for centering voices they felt had long been marginalized, offering a platform for survivors finally to be heard. Others criticized it as unbalanced or driven by vendettas. Still more conversations focused less on Combs himself and more on what his downfall revealed about power structures in entertainment. How celebrities can seemingly operate above consequences for years, only to be confronted by a wave of accountability when societal tides shift. For Combs' defenders, the mixed verdict in his trial, acquittal on key charges, remains proof of legal limits in proving complex allegations, and they argue that his conviction on the lesser counts, while serious, is far from a moral condemnation of all accusations. For critics, the very volume and consistency of complaints reflect a long-standing pattern denied for too long. Legacy culture and accountability. In the wake of the documentary and Combs' conviction, the conversation has transcended hip-hop gossip and entered a larger cultural reckoning. What does it mean when the architect of a generation's soundtrack is also accused by a swath of former associates and partners? How do we balance artistic influence with personal accountability? And what role do media, wealth, and celebrity play in shielding or exposing alleged misconduct? The ripples extend beyond Diddy himself. The documentary prompted former associates and alleged witnesses to speak out, reigniting debates about power dynamics in music, the culture around freak parties, tied to Combs' former events, and even long-rumored connections to historic feuds in rap culture. Meanwhile, Combs' family has also stepped into the narrative. His sons Justin and Christian Combs announced a new docuseries focusing on their perspective of his trial and life behind bars, a project aimed at offering context and nuance amid swirling public judgment. Even as Diddy serves his sentence in a federal facility, his empire's past glories now stand permanently reframed by legal outcomes and documentary scrutiny. Once a symbol of success, his story has become a cautionary tale about the fragile intersection of fame, power, and human consequence. So, what do you think? Is Sean Combs' The Reckoning a necessary cultural document that exposes power imbalances and holds the powerful accountable? Or is it an example of how personal rivalry and media spectacle can distort truth? Whatever your view, one thing is undeniable: the story of Diddy's meteoric rise and precipitous fall will continue to spark debate, analysis, and perhaps more revelations in the years ahead. If you want more deep dives into the biggest stories shaping music, culture, and the people behind them, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you found this breakdown insightful, and let us know in the comments what documentary you want us to explore next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.